Affinity Xtra, be extra.
Richard Smallwood was a legendary Grammy-nominated gospel composer and singer whose classic like Total Praise shaped modern gospel music. His work was recorded by icons including Whitney Houston and Destiny's Child, and he remained one of the most influential voices in the genre until his recent passing at 77. Michelle John is a powerhouse British vocalist whose roots are firmly in gospel music, known for her work with global superstars and for her acclaimed solo gospel projects, including her 2024 live album, God Is. She blends classic gospel influences with contemporary soul, drawing from her childhood church upbringing and years of professional vocal mastery. Let's hear what Michelle has to say. Michelle John, great to talk to you.
Oh, always a pleasure. I feel like this is becoming like our quarterly check-in.
Your quarterly check-in, absolutely. So good to see you. And all we're talking around, you know, the life and music of a bit bittersweet, but life and music of a great man, the legendary Richard Smallwood. What was one of your earliest memories of hearing or maybe singing a Richard Smallwood song?
I just think like Richard's music has always been there. For some reason, I can't think of a time where we didn't have his songs. And it's really funny because since his passing, there's songs I found out that were his that I didn't really know.
Yeah.
So for example, I always thought that Center of My Joy was like a Walter Hawkins song for some reason. And I realized that Richard Smallwood wrote that song. Incredible.
Yeah.
And then another one, which I personally have ministered many times, is I Love the Lord, which was, I don't know if you remember the film, The Preacher's Wife.
Preacher's Wife, Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston sang that song, and I've sung it many times, and I had no idea that Richard Smallwood wrote that song. So his songs have always been there. That's how I feel.
An incredible, not only great voice when he sang, but a musician, an artist, composer, creative, just beautiful.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that what he brought to us was the appreciation of orchestral music and that fusion of the orchestra, the strings, the horn section, and the voices and the piano, and just how I just feel like it takes us back to our musical roots, because Black music is everything, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, strings ain't new. This ain't new for us. Do you know? Like the horns, the brass, like the timpani, none of this is new for us. I really feel like he brought us back to our roots, and that infusion of the strings and like the tone of the strings, and then the horns, and then the voices, and
just how it fuses together is
special,
just
man.
Yeah, definitely.
Very special. Very, very special.
So there were so many, I think it was 10 albums that he released over the years.
Right.
A number of other compilations as well that he was involved in. What's your abiding memory? If there's anything that you think in Richard Smallwood, what comes to mind?
So what comes to mind is two things. When I first started working with Eric Clapton, some of your listeners may know that I was a backing singer for a long time. I worked with Eric Clapton for a long time. And I remember Eric telling me that he loved the music of Richard Smallwood. And he actually tried to get Richard to come and play on one of the tours, because at that time we had the great Billy Preston. Some people may know who he was, but he was a protege from the church, an incredible Hammond player, pianist, played for Ray Charles and all these amazing people. So I always remember that when I think of Richard Smallwood, and like we would talk about Total Praise and the power of that song. And then I got to have an experience because you know, Howie, that I've been exposed to like doing lots of things outside of the church, right? And I always made it a point to do a section in my concert, my show, my performance, where I would sing a gospel song, but I would let people know that this is the source for me, right? It's not just a song. This is my relationship. This is my faith. And what you're feeling, you're hearing tonight, this is the source of it, right? And there was a friend that passed away. She was another backing singer. They put on a memorial concert for her, and they had lots of people, Omar and Carol Thompson from the reggae world, and all these different people that came to celebrate this woman. And they asked me to sing. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna do what I do. I'm gonna bring the church. I'm gonna bring Jesus into the room, right? And so I decided to do Total Praise. And that night, Annie Lennox was there, who I'd worked with for many, many years. She was at the concert because this woman also was a backing singer for her for many years. And I sang Total Praise. And I just think Richard had a way of like the songs tap into a place, right? They take you into a place. If you can just connect with the song, the music, because you've got to also be able to tap in. The song can't do all the work, but the song is a vehicle for you to tap into that inner place, that sacred place, and make people and bring people into that place with you. And so I did that at this secular venue, Pizza Express. Annie Lennox was there, and she felt something when I did that song, to the point where she wrote me a letter, and she also wrote to the head of her record label and said, this woman has something, you need to sign her. And this was all based on what she experienced through the vehicle of that song. Wow. So there's something very powerful about the music. But I just think Richard had a thing. There's many greats, the Walter Hawkins, and there's something about them, the water they were drinking. I don't know what it was, but they were able to compose these songs that allowed us to just tap into the presence of the Lord. And I just think, like, that's really what it's about. You know, for me, Total Praise is the song. It's always been the song. And like, even in my times of, I call it my wilderness years, when I wasn't in church, I was still in God, I was still in Christ, but people didn't see me. I didn't come into the building. Maybe someone can connect to that or relate to that. But that was one of the songs that was always with me. It was like, God, whatever I do, if I'm on this stage and I'm singing for whoever, like, I'm taking you with me. Like, Total Praise was always with me. So that's just me, man.
Beautiful. Listen, it's so good hearing you.
Thank you.
Wonderful memories there. And thank you so much for being a part of this tribute to Richard Smallwood.
My pleasure.
Audrey Lawrence Mattis is more than a musical director. She is a cultural connector, educator, mentor, and innovator. The founder of AMC Gospel Choir, she's joined together with the Manchester Camerata, bringing a gospel classical fusion not often seen in the UK. She's created spaces where music becomes a tool for empowerment, engagement, and joy, bringing generations, cultures, and communities all together, one choir, one concert, and one student at a time. Let's hear what Audrey has to say on Richard Smallwood. So pleased to say that I'm joined by Audrey Lawrence Mattis. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. You?
So good to see you. Yes, indeed. Now we're here talking around the passing of the late Richard Smallwood, and I'd love to hear from you. You know, what was one of the earliest memories of hearing or maybe singing a Richard Smallwood song?
Certainly the hearing would have been me attending a concert at some point. I became a Christian around 12, 13 years of age, and immediately got involved in music making. In fact, I got saved through singing. I was allowed to sing, even though I was a naughty little girl sometimes. I was able to sing in a family group. So I would imagine we were dabbling with the likes of Richard Smallwood harmonies and alongside all the other greats. But I think my very first encounter with American gospel music was through Andre Crouch. Then it would have been a bit of Hawkins. And then I came across Smallwood and definitely began studying him more when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah, yeah. And he was certainly one who studied, right? He certainly studied his craft.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but they, as in a group of some of these seminal gospel composers and songwriters that we sing now, whose music we sing now, they all studied, and they studied classically at the HBUs, the American, the Black universities.
Yeah,
They studied really closely the European classical song styles and the music styles. And so I know that Richard Smallwood played the piano by ear at first, but then eventually went into classical training based on piano and voice.
Oh, lovely. I'm learning stuff as well myself as I'm going through talking and hearing about the stories. It is great to hear that. And now you work with you're the founder of the AMC Gospel Choir. And over the last few years, I've been privileged to see you and the group work with on your own, but also with the Manchester Camerata, in particular around Christmas time as well. And I would say that that's been fairly unique about the consistency in the UK, fusing the gospel sound with classical instrumentation. How much of an influence did Richard and his musical style have with you?
Everything, everything about the musicality of him, particularly once I decided to go back and study music, so that I could have a greater understanding of what I thought I could hear. So a lot of the gospel musicians that I know in this country, we perhaps studied the other way around to the traditional musicianship that goes on. We would have learned our craft by ear first of all, and then some go on to learn the actual notation, the theory, and others have been privileged to do the theory first and then do the ear training later on. But I did it ear training first, then thought about what it was that made our music so essentially different, very, very easy to recognize, but not always easy to copy. And I wondered, what was it about it that made it feel like it was accessible, but when you get into it, it's difficult? And I then began to understand that the majority of what I was trying to sing and learning to sing and teaching other people to sing were based on some of the harmonic structures that Richard Smallwood had studied. So I had to get back into how to manage that with authenticity, because what I was doing was borrowing in a way and explaining to a certain degree, but not being able to fully digest it to then explain and to defend as well. I wanted to be able to defend what it was that we did, because you like don't even read music, you just listen, you just play what you think it is. But I wanted to tell them what the chords were, why they were important, why the harmonies worked the way they did. And for that, I felt I had to go back and learn a lot more of the classical sounds and the classical theory, only to find out that they all wanted, a lot of people really angling to learn how we learn our music by ear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been interesting, but I would say that Richard Smallwood and Edwin Hawkins and Walter Hawkins pushed me without knowing. They pushed me into the direction that I then went into in the mid 90s, and I'm still learning now.
Well, we're seeing the output of that. You know, when we've seen you live, and just the response from the audience has been incredible, both in the Midlands and in Manchester. I've been privileged to be at both. There is just an outpouring of positive expression. Even watching people being videoed afterwards, talking around their experience, they're just in awe of what's taken place, and so you should be commended for that.
Thank you.
So, what will be one of your abiding memories of Richard Smallwood? Because did you ever meet him when he came to the UK?
I never met him, you know. And even if I've been at any of those concerts, I was always that I like to get involved in the audience, but if there's ever a meet and greet or anything, I don't think I'd have been at the front, you know. I I can't take no shame. If I'm up there, I need to be there officially, knowing that I'm going to get to shake the hand, or you know. So I doubt I would have. I know for a fact I didn't meet him, and I don't think I went to any of his concerts unless he came with somebody, and I don't recall that. I have seen quite a few other American artists, but I don't think I've seen him in the real. I think I've learned that he was I don't know how tall he was. I always wondered. He looked very tall. And I wondered about that because a lot of the other musicians, American musicians, for some reason, they're just very, very short. But anyway, just a little aside. I thought he was very composed looking, you know, very, not regal, that's not the right word, but he just didn't, I never saw him without a blazer or a suit. You know, I never saw him with a curly perm, a wet curly perm with a leather jacket or anything. He always sort of represented.
Very well presented, yeah.
Thank you. He just represented a very respectful and respectable.
Maybe stately?
Stately. Yeah, because you know what, like whenever you saw Andre Crouch, like had a flat cap and, you know, bit of a staff or something.
Yeah.
But never that with Richard Smallwood. So I don't know whether it was a thing from his church background or just what he decided to look like whenever he got out and about. So I like that about him.
Yeah. One thing that I've been seeing on social media has been around when he's corrected people around some of the songs in the way they've been sung over the years. He was very one for precision.
Well, why not? If you've studied music and you've probably written down everything that he's ever going to play or ask somebody else to play and sing, then why not have it played correctly? Why
Absolutely
have to around with it? So I think there is always room for interpretation. But one of the things that I staunchly decide upon when I'm going to teach something, and before we decide to veer off, we need to know as a choir and even in community groups, let's learn the piece first as it stands before we start experimenting and, oh, it doesn't matter. For me, it always matters. And I think people like Richard Smallwood have really confirmed that it's important to stick to what it has been considerably thought through, first of all, and understand that, because to understand that as a foundation means that you can move away from it in a very not guarded at all, but you can really give honor to the original intention of the music if you know what it was in the beginning. So, you know, when he's been correcting people on Total Praise, especially like the movement between the alto and the tenor part, I am very pleased to say that that is exactly how AMC sings that song. They don't do any other notes. There are so many little zhuzh going on in some of the recordings, and I listened to one just yesterday. I think it was a Christmas rendition of Total Praise, an American rendition, and I was wincing as I heard the tenors, and I was like, oh, that's not really giving honor. And it was a big name. There's a big name soloing and a choir in the background. I was like, okay. In the UK, we don't do that.
Oh, great. And finally, what song from his repertoire would you say is your favorite and why? It's one of those, really? I've got to pick one?
This is so difficult. It would be combinations of things. So obviously we've done quite a few in our set. We've done, and we, as I think you know now, because you've been to a few of those festive happening concerts, I'm trying to create gospel UK canon, which means sing songs so frequently or so regularly, not frequently, that everybody gets to recognize it's gospel. Christmas-ness and understand that it's Christmas, we're going to hear this song. Just as we hear Handel's Messiah every Christmas, and nobody goes, oh, not that again. They go, yes, it's Handel's Messiah time. I want them to know it's Richard Smallwood time. I want them to know it's so-and-so time. So we do Total Praise every year. We sing Holy almost every year. I think I'm going to put it in. It's pretty much every year. And we do Jesus, You're the Center of My Joy every year. So it'd probably be one of the, and this year we added I Love the Lord. So I don't know what's going to happen. But last year, 2025, we added I Love the Lord. So I'm not too sure out of those four, which I would say is the best, because even just adding I Love the Lord, I thought, just put a little song together for a community choir. And that choir did so well.
Beautiful.
So, any of those four, please? I'm sorry, I can't decide.
No, that's great. Audrey, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for sharing your memories. What a great tribute to Richard Smallwood.
Thank you, Richard Smallwood. Cheers, Howard. Thank you.
Carla Jane is a seasoned British gospel singer, choir director, and vocal coach with over 30 years of experience performing on stage, TV, radio, and in studio recordings within the UK and internationally. She shares her thoughts on Richard Smallwood. I'm really pleased to say that Carla joins me now. Carla, hey, how you doing?
Hey, Howard, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me here on your show.
Well, it's so good to talk with you. The occasion is a very bittersweet one. We're talking about the legend that is Richard Smallwood. And, you're one of the voices who is very well known within the UK. And it'd be great just to hear from you some of your early memories. And maybe what was one of your earliest memories of either hearing or singing a Richard Smallwood song?
Singing a Richard Smallwood song, the first song I ever sung as a soloist was I Love the Lord. An amazing song. And then obviously Whitney went on to do it in the Preacher's Wife movie. But that song, I can just put it on and it just brings tears straight away, just because of the message. So I Love the Lord. That was my first engagement with Richard. That really sticks with me in my mind, because obviously I've probably heard other stuff over the years, but that's the one that sticks.
Yeah. And it's incredible, isn't it, how so many people have been enamored and drawn into the music that he brought, because he was actually not only unique in many ways, but he stuck to what he did best.
Absolutely. There are some great videos around where he talks about how in the early days, people were trying to tell him, Richard, this is not going to work. People aren't going to connect with your music because of all the classical stuff. But that has grown to be the thing that we love so much, because you just put the introduction of I Love the Lord, just that piano. It's amazing. And we love it. Yeah. But it was difficult for him in the early days, but praise God, he stuck to what he felt God had called him to do.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
And I think I was going to say that is a testimony in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hear the message, go with the direction that you've been given.
Absolutely.
Even if it's not popular.
No, because now it is. I mean, everybody knows Richard. So can you imagine if he changed to go and do what everybody else was doing, or to be in a small box that others wanted him in? Who knows? The story could not have been the same.
Yeah.
So praise God he did stick to it. And now I travel to many countries, and Richard Smallwood, I did a big festival in Italy last year, and I taught I'll Trust. Huge song, and made sure I even mentioned his name. I know he was ailing. Made sure I spoke to the audience to not just sing the song, but to point out this is Richard Smallwood's music we're singing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Any other memories that come to mind about some of the experiences that you may have had? Did you ever meet him?
I met him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, in 2008, I attended the Novara Gospel Festival in Italy,
Yeah.
a festival that now I work at every year. I've been honored to work at every year, but I wasn't working at it that time. I was just attending. And it was the year that Richard was there, not just him, but with the whole band, so it was Richard Smallwood and Vision. So
Okay.
all these people I've been hearing for years.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in the audience and being so in awe of what was going on stage.
How
Oh
beautiful.
my gosh, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. He was playing the grand piano. We stayed in the same hotel, so had, brief opportunities to meet him, got my picture with him. And I was really quite shy to ask that. I do get a little bit shy when I meet celebrities, because also they're normal people also,
Yeah.
and who
Yeah.
wants a camera in your face? The thing is, I do lots of events now, and I'm not at his level. And after an event, people are, can I have a picture? So I was a bit nervous to ask, but he was very gracious, and yeah, I was able to just say thank you for the music, and
Beautiful.
that is important even now when I think about that. I had the opportunity to say thank you.
Well, um, I say as a musician yourself,
Mm.
yeah. One thing that I take from what Richard's done has been about his excellence with music, and actually not just singing, but actually give it. This is how it was designed to be.
Yeah.
Give it the respect that it deserves, and
Mhm.
deliver.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are people like him. When I think of the excellence, you've got Donald Lawrence. When
Yeah.
I see Donald, I think excellence. But he will tell you he came under, people like Luther and Richard and the Hawkins brothers, excellence in
Yeah.
sound. And then we have people like gentleman called Isaac Cates, again,
Yeah.
who's mentored by Richard, mentored by Donald as well. So that excellence, it's encouraging others to, let's go for it. Let's not just sing the songs. Let's not be karaoke, but let's strive for excellence. Excellence in the message, excellence in the delivery of the message. It's very important.
Fantastic. And so, which song from the repertoire is your and one?
There are so many, but I will go back to I Love the Lord.
Yeah.
I love the Lord. But there really are many. I could have many, but that is the one that really captured my attention, of Richard. Long as I live, while troubles rise, I'll hasten to his throne. It's amazing. It's amazing. So that is it for me. I love the Lord.
Beautiful. Carla, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Howard.
Great,
Thank you so much.
of those memories of the late Richard Smallwood. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Colin Anderson is the director of Birmingham's Town Hall Gospel Choir. He's also active as a vocal coach, arranger, and workshop leader, known for his energetic direction and high musical standards. He talks about how Richard Smallwood has influenced his life. Colin, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Great to be on your show. How are you doing, Howard?
Yeah. It's really good to have you here. I'm doing very well. Albeit we're talking around. It's been a bit bittersweet talking around the sad loss of Richard Smallwood,
Yes.
a name and a voice that you know well.
Very well. Stellar starlight. He is up there with the gospel great. Absolutely on the top line. You don't get topper than Richard Smallwood. He's up there with Andre Crouch. He's up there with the Hawkins.
Yes.
Number one for me. The new era of gospel music.
So what was one of your earliest memories of hearing or maybe singing a Richard Smallwood song?
You know what? So my background, growing up in a church, was very conservative, and so I I wasn't introduced to gospel music until the late 80s. Started gospel music, and it was still new to me. And then came Richard Smallwood, and that just blew me away. So I think it was 92, something like very early 90s, when he came out with his album. I think it was called Testimony or something like that. Testimony. And because he for me was the conglomeration. He just brought together classical music and gospel in such a way that spoke to me. This made so much sense. The expression he brought, bringing that classical music into the gospel and landed it. Yeah, Testimony, that album back in, I think it was 92. His mercies endureth forever. You haven't even asked me. I just got to tell you about that one. Yeah, his mercies, because
just hit it. The power of the dynamics.
So he starts that off with just voices, choral voices, and that's my background. And then he lands the piano and he lands the gospel harmonies. Yes, this is my man. And so I think, to be fair, because I'd listened to Andre Crouch and Hawkins in my 80s, and I loved them. But Richard Smallwood took me to the new level of appreciating the breadth that can be gospel. And I got to say, it is because of him why I really got into, and how I got into, the depth of gospel music. Because I was late into it. I didn't get into it till my 20s, in my early 20s. And he just introduced to me, because I was a choral classical background, and it's almost as if the two never mixed. And that was pretty much how it was in the 80s. You guys over there, especially at Adventists, you're very choral, very classical. And you Pentecostals, you're very Pentecostal and, gospelly, and never the twain shall meet.
Yeah.
And then when he brought them together, that was it. And I think that was it for us all. We both appreciated both styles of what we call gospel music, how they can both be the one. Yeah. So yes, his mercies endureth forever album, Testimony, back in 92. You shouldn't ask me these questions. You shouldn't even. I start. The adrenaline runs. Jesus, you lover of my soul.
Yeah.
That was a classical tune, classical piece by Johann Sebastian Bach. And he starts playing that true to form. And then he drops the gospel on top of that, the singing. It's like, wow. Yes, this is the Lord. This is what gospel can be. This is what gospel is. And I can't stop. Because his dedication, he was very precise. He was very clean. When you hear him play, he's always playing a grand piano. He ain't playing keyboards. He's playing a grand piano. And those fingers in the ivories, clean. I remember, I think it's the same album, Great is Thy Faithfulness. He played a whole solo recital on that, and that's it, hands down. He's such an inspiration. So those, and so a number of us from the Adventist church back then really got into him. He was right up our street. So beautiful, loved it. Loved him.
And how did his musical style maybe influence your own choir directing?
Yeah. So it's because of Richard Smallwood I could see, I can do this. I can be, because venturing into gospel was precarious, because as I say, we were very choral and classical. And trying to do gospel, it's like, nah, you really can't do it. But then when you see somebody like Richard Smallwood and how he brought together, it's like, yes, I can do this. I can be this. And he influenced everybody. Jesus, Jesus, you're the center of my joy. So his commitment to the clean, clear vocals, still very gospel style, but the cleanliness of it and how he used the keyboards and then brought a band into it. For me, it was transforming. It absolutely was transforming. So to hear those songs and do those, yes, this is what I can do. So has it it wasn't until start reflecting again on his passing that I thought, it's Richard Smallwood. Because if you hear my arrangements with Town Hall Gospel Choir, a lot of them have this beginning of choral, and then I break into the gospel. That is exactly what Richard Smallwood did. I'd be committed to the classical choral sound, the voicings, the different harmonies, and then drop the real gospel, true gospel style into it. It's totally about Richard Smallwood. I realize that he's the one. So if you go on and you see some of our songs, that's exactly it. Richard Smallwood. I wish I had realized earlier. But hey, his memory's still with us. So yeah. There are a lot of our sound of Town Hall Gospel Choir. The foundation of it is really the man Richard Smallwood. Coming out of Howard University. Because I didn't realize. It's like, that's what it is. Howard University, excellence.
Known for that excellence.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Some great memories. Some great memories.
Very great memories. Very great memories. As I say, the adrenaline's going. I'm sweating out. This man, he excites me. His style and, his expression excites me. It really does.
If there was going to be a top 3 songs that really inspire you, what would they be?
I couldn't stop. I can't stop. So think top 3. I'll start with the absolute, and I say it's the absolute because every choir that is a choir, whether you're gospel choir, whether you're local church choir, whether you're just, whether you're Lutheran, Baptist, Adventist, Catholic, whatever, everybody that calls himself a choir will have done total praise.
Yeah.
Period. That is it. Yeah. Period. Total praise is the one and he has so many other classic songs, but I can't not say total praise, even though it can sound like the obvious. But the power in the message, the power in the way the song is constructed. He is a psalmist. You see a lot of his songs that he's done over the years and his early years. It's all the Psalms. Great is the Lord, and great thing to be praised. Da, 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 da. His mercies endure forever. All these songs, they're psalmist songs. I think, and a favorite, especially for Town Hall Gospel Choir. We asked ourselves, out of all the repertoire we do over COVID, what's the one song that's our favorite? In fact, I asked them for 3, a choice of 3, and every single person had trust me in their choice. So yes, that song, the message, trust God. And he had a unique way of expressing that through his song. So yes, trust me, total praise. You're gonna for another one. That's hard. That's a hard.
Both two are good.
Yes, center of my joy. I love the Lord.
Yeah. You could go on. Exactly.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Colin, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for sharing your memories.
No.
And it's probably triggered something else with you now. So,
absolutely.
So thank you so much.
No, thank you, Howard, and God continue to bless you. And we look forward to working together. Hey, I hope this is going to lead to, especially in the Midlands, some great celebration of the life and songs of Richard Smallwood. I look forward to that.
Absolutely. Bless you.
Beautiful. Take care. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Martia Dixon, MBE, is a leading UK PR specialist and journalist serving the Black faith community. She runs a PR company called MD Public Relations and is editor of Keep the Faith magazine. Honoured with an MBE for services to interfaith relations, she's one of the most influential voices in Black British Christian media. It's great to talk to you, and it's unfortunate it's a bittersweet moment, isn't it, talking about the late Richard Smallwood.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But he's left such a great legacy, because we're only here for a set time, and all we can do is leave our legacy, which will be the utilization of the gifts that God has given us. And he certainly has done that with these wonderful songs.
Yeah, yeah. What was one of the earliest memories, or hearing a song or singing a Richard Smallwood song even?
My earliest memory is as a young Christian and seeing he had two albums that had come out, and I just remember seeing these glamorous looking singers on the front cover. One of the songs had Center of My Joy in it, and the other had the song Holy, Holy, Holy. And obviously I'm taken by the singing, the harmony, the songs. And then when I saw Richard Smallwood live, he came over to Britain, I think it was around about 1988, 1989. And he was on his own, brilliant. He came back with his singers. And as with me, I was a young woman at the time. When I listened to these Americans, I was like, are they miming to the record? Because the harmonies were just so perfect, out of this world, phenomenal. So those are my earliest memories. One, seeing him perform as a solo artist. I thought he was great. I got to interview him, but I can't remember what we talked about. And then seeing him with these singers and just being astounded by the quality of the voices.
Yeah, yeah. And what will be one of the things that will stay with you forever in terms of an abiding memory?
It's just the songs, it's the music that he left us. That's my abiding memory. So since the announcement of his passing last week, funny enough, I've been waking up every morning with singing Total Praise. I don't sound as good as the record, but it's just such a fantastic song. And I've heard the song performed over the years, and I have to say it is one of the most anointed gospel songs that I have ever heard, in this regards that every time it is performed, you can feel the spirit of the Lord, even if the choir sounds bad. Somehow they manage to kind of push through and they sound kind of sort of harmonious, but there's just something really powerful about that song. It just gets you, makes you totally focus on God, that he can bring you through whatever it is that you are experiencing, and that it just turns your mind and your heart towards the Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. And what song from the repertoire? I think there's 10 albums that he's done, at least. Is there a track that you'd think is your favorite? You said Total Praise.
Total Praise, but when I was younger, I liked that song. Sorry, I can't sing. There was a song called Holy, Holy, Holy. I like that one. I like Angels watching us. So I'm a bad singer. Angels watching over me, healing. I was just living. There's a bomb in Gilead. It's called Healing, but there's a bit that goes, there's a bomb. See, I can't sing, so I'm not going to sing it. However, he's got lots of great songs, going right through his repertoire of songs. Obviously, what was really great about him was that he fused gospel music with classical music and came up with a really great, unique sound. His music made it into the mainstream. Yes, I did go to the pictures to watch The Preacher's Wife. And yes, I enjoyed Whitney Houston singing I Love the Lord. I believe that Shaka Khan performed one of his songs. Destiny's Child performed Total Praise. I mean, that's what people would call, inverted commas, crossover success. You know, his music appealed to everybody. And what's also been really great is going through Instagram. Yeah, I spend too much time on Instagram, but going through Instagram and seeing the tributes from musicians and artists and churches of all complexions, all nationalities, paying tribute to Richard Smallwood. I mean, his music is a song of music of the church, and it's highlighted in terms of how people are paying tribute to him. But yeah, my favorite is Total Praise, though. Saying all of that, Total Praise is my favorite song. I need to go join a choir actually so that I can sing songs better.
Beautiful. Martia, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your contribution, and I really wish you well.
Okay, thank you for asking me. I lift my hands in total praise to you. Yeah.
Basel Mead MBE is the pioneering founder and musical director of the London Community Gospel Choir known as LCGC. Born in Montserrat and later moving to the UK, he helped shape modern gospel music by introducing a more contemporary, performance-driven style. Under his leadership, LCGC has performed for major international audiences and collaborated with artists such as Ellie Goulding and Eric Clapton. Basil, so good to have you here. Good to talk to you.
Absolutely a pleasure to talk to you as well, Howard. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. Now, we're here talking about the legendary Richard Smallwood, who recently passed away. Please let us know, what was one of your earliest memories of hearing or even singing a Richard Smallwood song?
Oh, my goodness. When the name Richard Smallwood Wood and his music began to filter into our ears here in the UK, it was so refreshing because of his classical training.
Yeah.
And so the way he organized his choir and the harmonies, the movement, I get tingles just thinking about it now. It was absolutely amazing because prior to that, you find a lot of the choirs sounded a particular way, but he brought a different slant on it. And it just inspired us so much here. And of course, things always come to us a bit later. It's done the rounds in America, and then it begins to filter into UK, and would pick it up and run it. So he inspired me, inspired the way we listened and looked at our choir sound, and that's what he brought. It was so tight in terms of the harmonies and the way the choir's vocals blended together was quite amazing. And so yeah, it was a major inspiration to me.
What is it you take from him in regards to his excellence? That's something that I really see a lot of in a lot of the videos that he was in. Excellence.
Yeah. I think that is a proud that he in gospel we're a lot looser with things, the way we share our gifting. But with his training of classical music, which is a little bit more in the box, I think he kept an element of that. And then he married that with the freedom of gospel. And he found the middle ground that worked so beautifully. It gave us, help us to look at the possibilities of maybe not just singing as loosely as we can and just expressing our emotions and our praise and worship of God, but there's an excellent musicality that can be incorporated, can be kept in the music to show that we're just not happy, clappy people as we were at times, but we can actually go into a level, a different area of expertise. We have that ability. And I think that's one thing he brought to the table and made people realize, well, we can probably be a little bit more disciplined in the way we present our music. So it's not just church people, it's not just particularly Pentecostal people who can write and develop and give birth to this music, but create music that anybody who's not necessarily religious or necessarily believe in God, they can sit and listen to it and engage with it. And I think that's what he brought to the table for gospel choir music. I mean, it will live on forever. It will be absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Have you ever worked with him or met him?
No, I've not worked it. I think he came to UK. Wow, I think he came to UK, and I was in the audience and saw him perform. I certainly believe so. And he, very humble man. I think that's one thing that came across. And sometimes our gospel artists is not as full of humility as one would hope. But certainly he came over as a very humble man, and just so glad to be representing heaven, representing God, representing this beautiful music, the culture, the art form. Yeah, that came across powerfully, and I think many of us who, particularly choir leaders, would have taken example from that.
Beautiful. And which song from his repertoire is your favorite, and why?
I was just talking with a couple of my ladies here. Probably my most favorite one is Trust Him. Oh my goodness. The soulfulness about that. The lyric is just everybody can own those lyrics and use it to connect with God, connect with heaven. The beautiful melody, it's timeless, and that speaks to me when I hear it. When I saw videos of him performing it with his choir, I was captivated by it. It's just a beautiful representation of what I was talking about. The way he's able to write those songs, interweave those harmonies, the different sections. They blend the tone that they use to deliver the message.
Beautiful.
If I only learn to trust God, trust Him, it's an anthem. I know the other song that most people say, Lord, I will believe. Everybody's into that. I love that also, but this Trust Him, this song, Trust Him, just sits deeply into my spirit. And I love to hear it. Absolutely.
Superb. Basel, thank you so much for your contribution. Been an absolute pleasure talking with you, and I really wish you well.
And I wish you well, you and your fabulous family, and pray God give you and give us all an amazing year. 2026, and hopefully we will be in the same room, same space, celebrating gospel music and the blessing that God has given us all. All right, you have a good, really excellent 2026, Howard. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Charmaine Oliver is a choir director involved with one of the largest Black majority churches in the UK. Her gift has taken her around the UK and also to the US, where she's known for her diligence and excellence in choral delivery. Charmaine, it's so good to have you here sharing with us on the programme. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Just a bit cold, hence the warm top.
Yeah,
it's absolutely freezing outside.
We're here talking around the bittersweet moment in regards to the passing of Richard Smallwood. So many great memories that I've been hearing and people have been sharing with me. What was one of your earliest memories of hearing or singing a Richard Smallwood song?
First of all, my condolences to Richard Smallwood's family. I mean, he was an absolute legend. I respect his music hugely. My first memory probably was singing in a group called Clive and Co. I don't know if you remember us. There was a group of us that sang together, and one of the first songs that I recall us doing was When You Can't Seem to Find Your Way, He Will Make a Way. And the late, great Hazel Watson sang a lead to that song, and she was a brilliant lead singer, but there was one note in that song where no one seems. So Woody had to do the seams because she just wasn't singing that note. It was just a no. It was out of her range, and she wasn't going to try and get to that note. So that was a memory that I'll always remember in regards to that particular Richard Smallwood song.
Yeah. Is it someone you ever met, or did you ever go to one of his concerts?
Unfortunately not. And I've been saying over the years, that's one artist that it doesn't matter what the cost of the ticket was or where it was, I would travel in the UK to go and see Richard Smallwood, because I admire his music. I admire the classical approach to it, the theatrics, because if you've seen me, you probably know that I like songs that are quite dynamic. I like different harmonies. I like songs that demonstrate the emotions. I also like songs that have really nice tricky bits and harmonies and intricacies, and songs that are joyful and songs that have meaning.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sing a song unless it means something to me. And all the Richard Smallwood songs that I've had any contact with have really, really touched me. And what I love about Richard Smallwood's songbook, which is vast, is that there are so many facets to it. When you're feeling joyful, you can get something that will keep you up there. When you're not feeling so great, there's another song or genre within his own genre that can keep you there too. And what I found was when I had a recent bereavement, my go-to song is Total Praise. I absolutely love that song. I think it was one of the first songs I ever taught the choir that I conducted initially. And that song, which I believe was written in the 90s, early 90s or so, 96 probably. I believe that song...
Yes, I believe so,
yeah.
yes.
And that song, to me, just hasn't dated whatsoever. I've done it with several choirs. We've sung it as a congregation. We've sung it in groups. And it just ministers so much. And particularly knowing the circumstances within which he wrote that song. He wanted to have a pity party. He wanted to be upset because of what he was going through, caring for his mother and his friend or relative, I can't recall. But instead, he was giving total praise to God. And that's a real testimony and an example for me that even in the midst of troubles and trials, that I lift my hands in total praise to you. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. That song, it just gives me goosebumps when I think of that song. I just love it. I love conducting it as well. Yeah. I really get into it. I can just feel those words, every single one of them. Yeah.
And he was known for his excellence in his discipline. I've seen some footage going around where he was making sure tenors, no, yes, this is what you're meant to be doing. I'm going to call you out in a minute. He did make me smile.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love the discipline. I love the professionalism. I love the maturity of the voices. I just loved his approach to music. It's just so professional and different, because not many other gospel artists, I guess, would be brave enough to go down that route, because everyone's trying to be popular. Whereas I think Richard just was a bit like me. I'm not bothered about popularity. I'm bothered about doing what I feel led to do. And I take a lot of example from that. I just love his songs. They're absolutely amazing. We recently went over to our General Assembly in the States, and we sang one of his songs there, Anthem of Praise, and the rendition of that went down really well. It was fantastic. Really quite a difficult song to learn, but it was worth it.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
Worth it.
Beautiful. And what song from his repertoire, you said Total Praise earlier, that may be the same one, would you say is your favourite song and why?
I think it is Total Praise because I've sung it so many times and yet I don't get bored of it. If somebody says, let's do Total Praise, I don't go, oh no, we've done that one before. I think, yeah, great. Another opportunity to sing praises to our God, you know. Your peace you give me in time of the storm. I mean, that is just so so poignant for me. Yeah. When you're going through the storm and you know that you've got the peace of God. And for somebody who loves music, going through a bereavement, music has really, really helped take me through that. And I've got Richard Smallwood and other artists to thank for that. So I'm really grateful.
That's beautiful. Charmaine, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time. God bless you.
Bless you too. Stay warm.
Indeed. Karen Gibson, MBE, is renowned as a choir conductor and the founder of the Kingdom Choir, established back in 1993. She's also widely regarded and recognized as Britain's godmother of gospel and has been involved in various prestigious events, including the royal wedding of Harry and Meghan back in 2018. Karen has conducted choirs across the UK and internationally, and she's been appointed member of the Order of the British Empire, the MBE, for her services to music. Her work extends beyond music as she advocates for racial equality and inclusion. I'm so pleased to say that I'm joined by the wonderful Karen Gibson. How are you doing? Good day to you.
I'm very well. Thank you, Howard. Nice to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year as well. Well, we're here to talk around the sad passing of the legendary Richard Smallwood. And I'd love to just hear from you on thoughts and memories, experiences. So what was one of your earliest memories of hearing or singing a Richard Smallwood song?
That would be with the group Psalms. I don't know if you remember them, but they were led by Noel Robinson. And he got me to learn and teach the song Psalms 8. Do you remember Psalms 8?
Yeah.
To this group of people. And of course, I'm doing it by ear. So it's one of those ones where you have to listen over and over and over again to catch those crunchy, incredible harmonies. It's quite difficult, I seem to remember. So that's one of my earliest memories. And then another one is of now, Trisha and Lilith Bailey used to be in a group, a family group, I think it was. And they were the ones who introduced me to, I think it was I Love the Lord. Yeah, I Love the Lord. And of course, that became very well known.
Yeah.
But I think that was the first time I'd heard it. And I think we went on to sing it after, not Psalms 8, but I think maybe New Dawn or maybe a church choir. I thought it all merges into one after a while. But yeah, and then I sung it after that. Those are my earliest memories.
And, how do you feel, with your time throughout those years, those different groups, and in particular now with the Kingdom Choir, how Richard's music maybe empowered or inspired you both as a choir director or as a choir itself?
Oh, 100%, because my ear was really drawn to his music, because of course we know that it was classically inspired, influenced, because he was a classical musician. I think he did a joint degree in classical vocal performance and piano, and he brought that sensibility into his own practice. Now, I also was classically trained, so my formal training was on the piano and oboe, and then my informal was in the church where I'm listening to all this gospel music.
Yeah.
Well, what Richard showed me is that you could bring the two together brilliantly and create this sound of finesse and excellence. And so, yes, I would say that his practice, his work his music really influenced me growing up, and I think still till this day.
Well, you just used two words that I love: finesse and excellence. And I think that is something that, if I was to give you feedback, you get at work sometimes, give you feedback, that is something that you are known for as well.
I don't know what people think, but I know.
Well, hence the feedback.
All right.
And that's a good thing, because actually it shows in what you've done, and also maybe with the platforms and the doors that have opened for you as a choir. Possibly. It's nice to hear you say that. I mean, I'm always going for excellence and a great sound and attention to articulation and to dynamics and, honing a sound. But you never know if people are really receiving that. You don't know. And maybe that is the sound that has opened doors for me. I've never really thought of that. But if it has, then I've got Richard to thank for an awful lot. Beautiful. And one more thing I'm just going to say, I'm just going to throw in there to thank him for, is a career in Europe. So I think it was, 2001, wasn't it, that we had the Twin Towers? It was 2001? You believe so? Yeah. So after that, the Americans were not flying anywhere. And a lot of them used to travel to Europe to run workshops. Yeah. Places like Poland and Denmark, particularly Denmark at that time. And Richard Smallwood was meant to come across, but he couldn't. He couldn't fly after that. And so I think it was Ruth Lynch, as she was then, Ruth Waldron now, who then recommended me to go and take his place. Could you imagine, at this huge workshop in Denmark? And that kick-started a whole series of visits to Denmark, Poland, France, Spain, Italy. So I have him to thank for that as well. Yeah. That's incredible. And Ruth as well. Yes, indeed. Yeah. And so what would you say would be some of your abiding memories of him over the years? Oh, I don't know him. I've never met him. I wish I had. But what I would say is that his music has blessed people all over the world, where I have been privileged to take the stage. People have been really empowered. Total Praise, as we know, is a gospel anthem. And, when it gets to the coders, or the outros, as we call them, people are absolutely enraptured by those ascending amens, and then at the end you have the sopranos on the top C holding it out for as long as I dared push it for, and by that time everybody is absolutely mesmerized and blessed. They're blessed by his music. Very much a song of expectation, isn't it? That building. It is very much so. But that's not the only one, If you listen to particularly his older music, he was the master of the outro, because a lot of gospel outros, they are 3-part harmony, they're going round, then you might have an inversion, you might have a key change, but he was doing the unexpected. You really wouldn't think that his music would take that turn or go to that harmony. But he really knew how to build expectation, as you say, but also weightiness, the weightiness of worship, the weightiness of the glory of God in his music. And to convey meaning, there's one of his songs called The Resurrection. Yes. Listen to that outro. It is so powerful and really does speak of the death and the resurrection and the sorrow of the resurrection, but also the peace that comes from the life of Jesus Christ. Yeah. Beautiful. I was going to ask you which one is your favorite. Could there be a favorite, or is it just there's so many that you can pick from, right? Can I name you some? There's no favorite. I mean, Total Praise is a go-to for us. Of course.
all right? If we really, feel that there's a moment for worship, that's the song that's going to do it. Whether it's, across races, black, white, old, young, church, unchurched, that's the song that's going to do it for people. But some of my favorites, The Resurrection, as I said, Precious Is Your Name, Angels. I love Angels. I love He Did It Just For Me. Holy, Holy, that's one of his older ones that we used to sing all the time. Praise waiteth. If you want to get into worship.
My everything, yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely stunning. Anyway.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Listen, such great memories. I could talk to you all day about this because you're so impassioned about it. So thank you so much. Really appreciate your contribution, honouring the legacy of the great Richard Smallwood.
Oh, well deserved. So well deserved. Yeah.
Thank you. God bless you.
Bless you, Howard. Thank you. Bye.
Duke Kerr, a renowned and celebrated Midlands musician who was an influential part of the choir mission through the 90s. Let's hear what he has to share. Duke, it's so good to talk to you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. Good to be here.
Good. Well, the recent news of the passing of Richard Smallwood has been a shock to many people. What was one of your earliest memories of hearing or singing a Richard Smallwood song?
Okay, so you talk from 1982, right?
Oh, wow.
and the thing is, at that time for me, so I was a young musician at that time, and my main influences would have been Andre Crouch, would have been the Hawkins. Those are the two prominent people at the time that I'd listened to, and Clark Sisters a bit. And it was funny with Richard Smallwood. His album seemed to come out of nowhere, in terms of my experience, and it's just been something whereby you don't take it serious at first, but then as you really start to listen to it, you realize that there's something different where he's not Andre Crouch and he's not Hawkins. But he's got his own path, and it was just something whereby it just kind of crept up on me, where you realise that you brought out the album, you liked all the songs on the album, which is something that is very rare for me to like every song on an album, and then it just kind of, as he brought out his following albums, you realise that there's a clear direction, a clear uniqueness to him and the sound that he creates, and that's not just musically, but it's lyrically as well, where the music and the words just bind together, and just really profound. And as I said, it just crept up. It's not like something that is popular and then goes away. It was just something that was so consistent. The main song that I remember was "I Love the Lord." That was a song that really connected with me in terms of the melody, the tone of the song, the lyrics, where the song really does take you somewhere, and it's still powerful today. It doesn't matter, and that is the strength of a God-given song, in my mind, where regardless, it's timeless.
Yeah,
it's timeless, and that's and whatever you're going through, whether you were 15 or 19 back in 1982 when you heard it, or 20, if you're 15 or 20 now, the song still has that same power. Yeah. And still relevant for whatever people are going through, and that for me is the song that the first song that really are connected to.
That's beautiful. And how do you feel, if at all, his music maybe inspired you musically as well?
Oh yeah, the being a keyboard player, and not only being a keyboard player, but my profession is in computing, right? And there's something in there where logic is a big part of me in terms of things have got to be logical, things have got to make sense, you know, you know. And so and he just was in that same thing, you know, in terms of his music is correct. You know, if I can use that term, his music makes sense. Every chord that he plays has purpose. Every melody has purpose. Every tone has purpose. Every lyric has purpose. And it's something. It's like eating good food. You know, it's like eating good food that is doing something in you, that's making that is framing you in a way that you don't fully understand until when you start to then things start to come out of you, and you realize, and you don't realize that was influenced from what you've heard. One of the sayings that I say to people: play what you hear, you play what you listen to. And so if you listen to good music, and that's a part of your DNA, then you're going to play the same way. And yeah, in terms of a lot of the chords and the structures that he uses does come out in my playing. Not as good as him, right? Not as good, nowhere as near. But I have a version where I recognize. You learn the song in learning a Richard Smallwood song. It's more than just learning a song, you know. I learned to play the way that he plays it, in a way that it moves me, and I think that's one of the things that I try to do when I'm learning a song. I want it to move me when I'm playing it, the same way when it moves me when I'm hearing it. And when I play the song, I want it to move me, and just having that mindset does influence me when I start playing other songs, because that same feeling of that spiritual experience that I feel from the music is what then comes out when I try to play, you know. So that is what I'm saying. Richard Smallwood his music is spiritual, and that's not disregarding all the other Christian artists or anything like that. But there is something about certain artists and certain songs that artists write that last well beyond when they were first written or performed.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And did you ever meet him or go to one of his concerts when he came to the UK?
No, I did. I've never met him. And I'll be honest, I'm kicking myself that I've never heard him live. I know he came to Birmingham the one year, and I can't remember why I didn't go. But my sisters went. My sisters, Melanie and Marlene, went, and they said it was the best concert they've been to for years. You know, and I was gutted.
So you mentioned that you alluded to a song earlier. Would that be your favorite song? I Love You, Lord. I Love the Lord.
In terms of what? Sorry.
In terms of your favorite song from Richard Smallwood.
Yeah, he's written so many, you know, and like the thing about it, you sometimes forget, because a song becomes so a part of your experience that you forget that you forget who's written it, you know. And I Love the Lord is the first song I think of, but then I know there's the other song is more well-known songs.
Total Praise is the one that everyone knows.
Total Praise.
Yeah.
You know, you forget that sometimes I forget that he wrote that. Yeah. But we sing it, we learn it, and it becomes sung in all the churches, and it just becomes a part of your repertoire, and you don't think about where it's come from, you know, and yeah, that I think of all the songs that I've played the most, that's probably been the one.
Yeah.
The songs, but yeah, in terms of what the first one that were. Now, when me personally thinks of Richard Smallwood, the first song that comes to mind is "I Love the Lord."
Yeah, good. And in closing, you've written songs as well.
Yeah.
Looking at how he's written songs, even taken some of the Psalms as well. What do you think you can take, or maybe even songwriters can take from how he's written?
I kind of alluded to it earlier, to be honest, that it's I'll be honest, I love slow I say very thoughtful songs. Yeah, I do like tempo songs and all that, but like in terms of ones that cause me to really reflect and being able to focus on God, it tends to be more slower songs. What I recognize from him, and as I said it earlier, is that it's where the words and the music are joined together. You know, it's not something that's fabricated. You know, it's not something, and I'm not saying that people can't collaborate and come up with a song, but what I've experienced in through my own songwriting is that it is a divine conversation. You could say it's a divine impartation of music with lyrics that go beyond just sounding nice. It's something that actually changes how you feel, and it's something that I feel that you can't really explain unless you've experienced it. It's difficult to explain. It's difficult to do unless you've experienced it, for you to know what it does, and then and recognize that, hold on, something's going on here, that I recognize it's got to come from God, you know, and that's what I feel with him in terms of the songs that he's written. He is deep, you know. There's a depth to him that isn't, and that's about being popular. It goes beyond being popular, and it's about being authentic. And I just find him to be authentic. You look at him, and he wasn't about flashy clothes. He wasn't about any flashy kind of marketing or anything. He was just him, and he just bought his music, and he bought the way that he did it. He didn't try to copy anyone. It was just being himself, and that all of that is what I take from him. It just fits in with me, personally. Yeah, I'm not a singer. I'm a part of the worship team at church, but the thing that I recognize, it's about connecting with God firstly and most of all, and then just singing the song, not about flashy riffs, you know, not about doing some fancy chord movements that cause people to go, oh, you know. It's just about playing the song, and playing it with depth, and letting the lyrics and just move people, and and that's what I take for me from Richard Smallwood. It's funny. It's funny. I wrote this song. Came to me, and the song was just really ministering to me as I was like playing it and just putting it together. And I had to stop for a minute and said, "Dude, this sounds like a Richard Smallwood song." Honestly, the harmonies, the chord movements, everything about it to me just sounds like Richard Smallwood, and it's like, man, you know.
Inspiration.
But that's what it is. I do look to people like Richard Smallwood, for that feeling.
Patrick George is the founder and director of the United Praise Mass Choir, known as UpMass, established back in 2014. He's widely regarded as a singer and choir director who famously silenced Simon Cowell on Britain's Got Talent in 2013, and is active as a mentor and songwriter. He shares his thoughts on Richard Smallwood. So good to have Patrick George, the one and only, here on the Gospel Zone here on Affinity Xtra. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you, sir. Very well on this frosty day, but I'm doing good.
Good. It's so good to see you. We're here to talk, bittersweet moment, talking around the life of Richard Smallwood. And there's so many things that we could say, but what was one of the your earliest memories of hearing or maybe singing a Richard Smallwood song? Because I know you know them songs already.
Well, we used to sing them back in the day, Do you know what? I think a song that probably is not sung as often, because obviously one of the famous songs that people always sing is Total Praise. But I think when I was growing up, one of the songs that was always sung was Jesus, You're the Center of My Joy.
Yeah.
That was one of the ones that was always sung in, like, one of the choirs would be singing it. Praise teams will be seeing it, but now he's done so many legendary songs. But I think some of his earlier music was definitely outstanding and probably needs to be revisited by choirs and praise teams again.
I was watching or listening to some of the older music, and what I loved about it is that it's timeless. You can see a choir doing it now, and it will just be like it's fresh.
Absolutely. And the attention to detail when he sings. I was literally watching him yesterday teaching Total Praise, and the errors that we are making, I think especially in the tenor section. So I actually sent it to the choirs, and you know what? If we're going to honor this man, let's sing the notes that, because you know what it's like growing up in church. If we don't know the note, we'll just make it up as we go along. But I actually sent it to the choir, so I'm going to make sure that I sing it on point, because he took the time to write it.
Yeah. We are the original remixers.
Absolutely. I love that.
Oh, good ahead. I mean, you've kind of gone into my second point about a real memory of him was about his excellence and how even when he wanted to correct people, he would do it with love but professionalism, and there's no shoes being thrown.
No, well, not like the late Dr. Maximus Clark. I mean, we was under her direction, but I just think he was very clear on what the sound was. His choir definitely has a sound, and different choirs have different sounds, and he definitely mixing the good news of Jesus Christ with classical, which was never really been done. I think himself, Twinkie Clark as well also likes to mix the classical, and it was a genre of music that was quite foreign to the church, and he's kind of merged the two together quite seamlessly. And when you hear certain songs and you hear the orchestra, and it's all biblical, because he talks about praising on the cymbals, the high cymbals, the instruments, the organs, and he's literally using all those instruments to create the music.
Yeah, definitely. And so the songs that you remember, you said about Total Praise and the other ones that you mentioned as well. What else springs to mind?
I think, did he do Lord, You Know the Pain? And there's a healing. Oh, there's healing for your sorrow, healing for your pain. That one's a beautiful song. You know, we sang that for I think down the phone for the late Barry Morrison, because it was a song that we just needed for him to hear. And I think it's such a good song. I played that song when I was going through last year, and it's just some songs that you have to go way back to dig out. You know what I mean? To put you in that situation so you can understand that God is a healer. So, and he's definitely, his songs had great messages.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. A beautiful, beautiful tribute. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
So well. Noel Robinson is a London-born British Christian musician and worship leader known for blending gospel with contemporary Christian music. Since launching his career in 1996, he has released multiple influential albums and become a prominent figure in the global worship movement. Beyond performing, he serves as a music pastor, songwriter, and founder of the Kingdom Worship Movement, which trains and equips worship leaders worldwide. So I'm here with the one and only Mr. Noel Robinson. How you doing, Noel?
I'm sure there's four of me somewhere. I don't know about one and only. There's about four of me somewhere. Sometimes I feel like that. Thank you, man, Howie. Great to be on your program, man. Amazing.
You probably need more than one of you. Definitely. So when here, you know, it's sad that we're talking about this, but it's life. We talk about the legacy and the passing of the late Richard Smallwood. So what was one of your earliest memories of hearing or singing a Richard Smallwood song?
Well, growing up in the UK music community, especially the Black community, there were some incredible influences along the way, you know. When I often share with people, I talk about, I didn't actually hear gospel music until I was about 11 years old. And that's because I grew up in that Windrush thing. And I will say that we as a Black community didn't want to sing the songs that our parents sang, you know, in the old school Caribbean choruses or even the hymns that they sang, you know. And so we need to find a sound, you know. And we found a sound in Black America that we could model ourselves on. And we found a culture that we could model ourselves on. Hence why growing up after 11, hearing Andre Crouch, you know, the Caravan stuff, hearing the choir stuff, you know, Ben the Hawkins and all the kind of guys. And out of that playing that music came this sound that was like, because I was actually trained in classical. I did classical guitar and played classical piano, played double bass in the orchestra. So I was already switched on to lots of different music, rock and roll, you know. I was into the rock stuff very much, and then psychedelic Earth, Wind and Fire, then coming into it stuff. So all of a sudden we heard this very, very classy vocal sound. And it was the Hawkins actually. And we were like going, wow, look at the songs they're writing. Look at the way the harmonies are working, you know. And then, so we all, you know, I formed a group called Psalms, and we were on the Christian circuit doing lots of concerts in churches every weekend kind of thing, you know. And Karen Gibson was part of it, notably. And we had quite a few other people. Veroy Bailey was part of it, and his sisters, and Junior Robinson was part of it. And it was a really group, but we actually styled ourselves off the kind of strong vocal harmony. I mean, it was my band, but I was playing guitar in it. But then we heard, for me, what really hit me was all of a sudden Richard Smallwood came, and his sound was slightly different because although the Hawkins were really contemporary in their style and Andre Crouch kind of that kind of thing, the Winans were there, Richard Smallwood was very classical. And the fact that he would take something like Ode to Jesuit and Jesus love underneath that or above that, it's like, wow, how do you, that was a different level of interpretation. because in our churches we're good at interpreting stuff. So we hear a song by a CCM artist that got 3 chords. And by the time we get it in a black church, right, it's got a different groove. It's a bit slower. It's a bit vibey. But here comes a guy that, wow. So Richard Smallwood was very much part of my learning the sound of gospel and how sound of gospel could interact. And I think the beauty of it was Roni Henderson. She was a promoter at the time. She's a young lady lady in London. And if you ever remember Roni Henderson.
Yes, absolutely.
She's one of the legends of our Christian community. She was bringing over Richard Smallwood to do a tour.
Okay.
My group Psalms, we're going to do support. But more importantly, I was one of the people that were looking after him. Roni introduced me to quite a few American artists that, I commissioned when they first came.
Yeah.
I was in Hyper. That's what I know, Fred, the guys, and then Richard Smallwood came, and it was profound because the sound on the record was happening in real life.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't like AI. You hear it and then you go listen to the person singing, you kind of go, there's 2 differences. But it was real, the dynamics. And that really inspired us as a group to really push into Richard Smallwood's music. And I became a great fan of Richard. I got to know him. He actually helped us broker a deal where we brought over, by the time I was working with a couple of guys, we had a company called Gospel Connections. And he actually helped us to broker a deal taking British gospel artists to the Chicago Gospel Festival.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up taking the Wade brothers.
Okay.
Right. So that was the Wade brothers' introduction to the American marketplace. And it was also my introduction to what was going on in the US.
Sure.
So this Richard Smallwood was very, very influential for me in terms of learning the craft of vocals. I wasn't a great singer those days. That wasn't my forte. But actually, most certainly in harmonies and understanding dynamics of vocals and trying to get the particular effects and the chords, and he was so powerful at that. And as you can see from his legacy of music, absolutely incredible. To marry classical and gospel, he brought a different sound.
Yeah.
So that was my thing, and we remained friends for years. We contact each other for years. Just he was just a friend. Rang him, and we'd speak, and that kind of thing. And obviously, you lose contact over the years. But Richard Smallwood was a very, very nice man. Very open. Always desired more of you. He pushed the boat in everything. Excellence was his thing.
And that's one of the questions that I asked in talking with Karen, and we shared around his focus on excellence and delivery. That's something that was a big deal in terms of getting it right, staying true to authenticity of his music as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm always deliberating with this word authenticity, and we could do a whole program on the word authentic and authenticity, and what does that look like in our culture, and what does that look like in in life as well. We're our authentic selves at 15, but now we know what we know, and we're at this age. Were we authentic? It's that kind of thing. And then in terms of music, so obviously he was very authentic because most of his albums always had the same kind of creativity around it, where he brought in the classical idiom, and he loved Baroque. That's what I got a lot from his music. If you understand classical, there's classical, there's Baroque, and there's Romantic, and all of those form the classical period. So when we look at Baroque, we look at Handel, we can see the Messiah, hallelujah, and contrapuntal harmonies and the movement, and he was able to blend much of the musical form of that. So his music could be written out and performed even from a classical point of view, where the orchestra plays and the vocals are all on point. And yes, he was really into the excellence and doing it right. You know, I think the thing for me that I learned about the excellence, but the thing that really inspired me was a songwriting. I think that he wrote some of the most powerful songs that carried the hearts of people. You know, some of those powerful songs in Vision. You know, I mean, we know that you are the stars. I mean, that song in itself is like a psalm in itself. You know,
Yeah.
And he the way he married those things, and there's loads of other songs that became, even psalms is our staple thing.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it was this: we couldn't sing any of the songs that we knew of his when we were supporting him.
Of course.
It pushed us to, well, we sang some Hawkins songs, and it pushed us to write our own songs. So sometimes we were writing our own songs and singing our own songs, and this is part of our journey.
Yeah.
And I suppose the great inspiration from those days for me is that I'm continuing to write songs that I believe, or I hope, will be the voice of the believer. They can sing these songs. They can trust in these songs, because my songs are based on the word of God. This is the thing, what I saw with Richard. I don't think I heard any song that was just like doctrinally like, no, you can't really say that. He just like, he took the words from the Bible and just created
Absolutely
amazing context that gave voice to the culture at that time. So I would say that he is most certainly an icon of the Christian music, the American music scene, because his impact is even felt today. You know, when you look at the gospel choir directors, Karen, you know, and Kingdom and Volney Morgan and all the guys that are doing gospel choir, I don't think that any of them don't have a song done by Richard Smallwood.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, wherever you go in Europe, they know Richard Smallwood songs.
And that's one of the things I've realized, the impact that he had across Europe as well. When he was pre-COVID, especially, people would be going to these countries and having conferences, empowering choirs out there as well, with ultimately the aim of empowering them to go and replicate or whatever those songs.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about it is that legacy, as an artist, your legacy is always going to be in the music that you've created. You know, we were talking about it before in the UK. We've had some amazing projects back in the day, and I use that back in the day very loosely, because it's not an indictment in that sense. In one way it is, but in another way it's what it is. You know, many of the artists that, you know, the early 2000s and late 90s and mid 90s, there's not many artists that recorded one project. You know, I talked about Isaiah Raymond, amazing, one of the most amazing albums, award-winning albums. Actually, it's still relevant now, but we want to hear more from him, you know.
Absolutely.
Power Praise and Roger and Sam, and some of these songs that became staple diet in the Black church movement, but actually the follow-up to them hasn't been. And, you know, I was saying to you before that, you know, since 2000, I think I've done 4 albums or 5 albums now, just released the album last year. So the legacy of any artist is going to be in the songs that they wrote. And Richard Smallwood has one of the most strongest legacies in Europe, because in Sweden, in Denmark, in Norway, across that thing, Italy, in Germany, in France, wherever you go, there is a Richard Smallwood song. In actual fact, I think last year, you know, sad to be going to so many funerals, but I went to many funerals last year, and if they didn't sing, Lord, I will, which is one of the most powerful praise and worship songs, that even you may not sing it on a Sunday morning in the praise and worship section, but if you started it, everybody would know it. And that incredible crescendo of Amen, you know, it really does speak to our humanity before God, and how man's creativity can touch heaven. And Richard Smallwood is one of those artists, through his creativity and his music, touched heaven. I don't think there's a song that is weak.
Agreed.
He has a weak song on any of his albums. And especially when Vision began to sing, you're like going, oh, Lord. So you can see people built up on his shoulders, the likes of Kirk, the likes of many of the artists that came after this amazing recording, career of Richard Smallwood's songs. People wrote songs that were similar. People did the similar style in the same way that we did. And that's how much of an impact I would say Richard Smallwood had on me. The two great American artists that had probably the biggest influences, well, three, Andre Crouch, Fred Hammond, and Richard Smallwood. And
Beautiful.
I'm not putting in order, but obviously Andre came before. Those three impacted me being a musician and understanding vocals and wanting to get the best out of vocals.
Yeah. Beautiful. And finally, what song, if there isn't, what song maybe or two from his repertoire would you say are your favorites and why?
Okay. I have see Richard Smallwood for me, like there's a couple of songs that he did. And you're asking me now and I'm like going, there's so many. There's a song that really spoke to me many years ago. I'm gonna quickly put it up. My gosh, I want to get the first words right. And there's a song that he had. It's Healing. Healing was like a go-to song throughout the seasons of my life. When I first heard that song, it was like, wow, healing for your soul. And the way he delivered that song in the musical style and the arrangement, the way it built, I cried many nights because it became my cry.
Well,
if there was a song that he wrote, and there's many, but it is healing, just, and that speaks to just the brokenness of my story. Whenever there was moments of brokenness, moments of struggle, hey man, this song would come and just go bam, hitting me. So yeah, that's the song.
Beautiful. Healing. That's beautiful. Noel, it's been so good talking to you. What a powerful remembrance there of the great Richard Smallwood. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Oh, bless you, man. Thank you, Howie.
Dawn Thomas Wallace is an award-winning British gospel singer known for her powerful vocals, deep spiritual roots, and a ministry shaped by her Windrush generation Pentecostal heritage. She came to the fore with the family group Trumpets of Zion, active during the 1980s, and often called the golden era of UK gospel. Now, she's performed internationally, recorded widely, and remained a respected figure in UK gospel music. Dawn Thomas Wallace, such a pleasure to speak with you. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, and thank you for the invitation. It's an honour.
Well, it's unfortunate in that we're speaking, talking about the passing of the legendary Richard Smallwood. So what was one of your earliest memories of hearing or maybe singing a Richard Smallwood song?
Well, my earliest memories go back to the 1980s, when the UK gospel circuit really began to catch a whiff of what was happening in the American gospel music industry. For me, that period, is this okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so for me, that period marked a significant shift. I grew up in a traditional Caribbean Black Pentecostal environment. The songs that we sang were the ones that the elders had passed on to us. And so that even though that music had an American origin, it had been transformed through the Caribbean experience, as you can imagine. And that was our sound, and that was our worship. But, you know, we became hungry as young people for more. And there was a real shift when we started listening to artists like Andre Crouch. And that was the turning point for us. And so we began singing his songs, but, you know, singing so much of his songs that we actually also needed something more. And suddenly the gospel circuit opened up to us in a new way. And from there, I remember being introduced to James Cleveland, my eldest brother and sister and eldest brother. They went off to America for a trip there. And my brother came back and he said, we need to listen. You need to listen to this man. And so that opened up the gospel choirs. And so every American trip then, because in those days, record shops, there weren't really any record shops in the UK that was selling gospel music. It was very rare. And so one of the main ways to access new music was actually through family members taking trips over to America and having their holidays and buying these albums. As you can remember, the big vinyl albums in those days. And so they would, you know, like my older brother and siblings rather, they would go to America quite often and bring back these albums. And so when they returned, we would listen and listen over and over again to those music. We knew them inside out, really, and because records were precious, and we knew we had to perform, and so we needed the material. So those albums actually became our resources. And through those trips, the records, I was introduced to an even broader genre of music, of which Richard Smallwood's albums then came into the mix.
Yeah. And what a difference to what we had previously had, you know, that whole mix of the bringing together of classical and what we call traditional gospel.
Absolutely. You know, what struck me immediately about him was that his music was fresh. Gospel music is defined as being characterized by its lyrics. And so there are many different genres within the gospel mix. And so Richard Smallwood's work stood out musically because of the classical aspect. Now, the Clark sisters, who was a group that, you know, you would listen to again and again and again to this day, but they also had that classical background. And Richard, so, you know, moving sideways, as it were, from Clark sisters to Richard Smallwood was not difficult, because there was that underlying element of the classical mixture, the fusion of those two genres together. And his music, yes, it was very much so of a classical background. His compositions were deeply thought through, the carefully written, the arrangements, and clearly intended for worship in the sanctuary. And it's felt as if his music was written for the Levites in the temple, the songs of reverence, of praise, heavenly music, heavenly beauty. They weren't just songs, they were offerings of praise. And I feel that, you know, he actually was a vessel that God used to download his music, because the music is clearly from heaven. And I'm sure they're singing those songs in heaven. When we get there, we'll hear them.
Just the picture that you paint is so beautiful. You know, I can just hear, I'm just imagining and going through my head the songs now, you know, especially when he did a particular album, all Psalms based as well.
Absolutely.
And just the beauty of bringing those Psalms to life was just very unique in many ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. He certainly knew his lane, his niche. And even he had testified and said that it was frowned upon. Never thought that people would like it. It's not going to sell records, but they were so wrong, because great music is just great music, at the end of the day. And I can say, as an artist, a singer and teacher of music, really, it doesn't matter if it's one of your favorite genres or not. You will recognize great music, and Richard Smallwood, time and time again, just produce absolute phenomenal music. Absolutely phenomenal.
And so, which songs from his repertoire are your favourites? I can say favourites because I know you're going to have more than one.
Exactly. I honestly don't know if I could just choose one. I love his songs, and every time you think one, you think that's the one. Oh, that's an amazing song, and you reach and you think that's the pinnacle. He writes another song, and he somehow raises the bar even higher. But one song I always would sing and love singing when I am out singing concerts or churches, and that would be Jesus, You Are the Center of My Joy.
Yeah.
All that is good and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, hope for all that I do. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. And, it's a prayer, but every time you sing his songs, you know that you are in a one-to-one communication with God.
Yeah.
Even if the church is around, even if the crowd is around, you can't sing those songs and not be singing a prayer to God, or praying or praising him for yourself. You can't get angry on those songs.
And if you are, it's going to change your mood.
I'm telling you, because it will convict you. I'll say this. The Apostle Paul says, singing, making melody in your hearts, psalms, hymns, spiritual songs. A lot of the songs that are sung, I would say, even from gospel background, but others, they are spiritual songs. They come under the the category of spiritual songs. Hymns are the songs of the forefathers. So somebody asked, why in that order? Why did the Apostle Paul say psalms, hymns, spiritual songs? Well, my answer to that question is actually the closeness and the proximity to the Word of God. So spiritual songs really will be a person's testimonies, sharing an experience and praising God for, what he's done for that particular person. But the hymns are the songs of the forefathers, which I will say clearly are not to be put aside. We need those testimonies because they keep us strong. And they're close to the Word of God. But the Psalms are the Word of God. They're literally the Word of God. So what is also so great about Richard Smallwood was that he penned the Word of God to music and put music and made melody and made the Word of God so rich in our hearts that as you sing his song, you're singing the Word of God. As you sing the Word of God, you are singing, it's the seed of God. The Word is the seed. And the seed must grow, especially if it is on good ground. It will yield fruit. So he was one who wrote scripture.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And he will be sorely missed.
Definitely.
We will miss but his music will live on, and he will live on in our hearts. And I believe it will live on forever.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Dawn, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your
Thank you so much, Howard. God bless you.
Juliet Fletcher is a pioneering figure in British gospel music, known far more as an industry trailblazer, promoter, broadcaster, and cultural advocate than as a performing gospel artist. She shaped the UK gospel landscape for over 50 years through media, events, and sector development. She shares her thoughts on Richard Smallwood. Juliet, it's a pleasure to talk with you, albeit a sad occasion in terms of thinking of the legacy of the legacy of Richard Smallwood, who recently passed away. So what was one of your earliest memories of him, of hearing or maybe singing one of his songs?
Oh, I was thinking on this, and I remember, because its first release, according to, if the records are correct, was in the early 80s. And in the early 80s, I was really just getting tucked into the whole thing to do with gospel music and what it meant to us as Brit peoples. At the time, I was just thinking about the Oasis Awards, because from 82 to 83, 84, I would do the Oasis Gospel Music Awards, which is the promotion company that I was working through. I had also aimed at doing a tour of UK gospel with an American artist that didn't quite work out, but still I was very excited to be doing what I was doing. And when I heard Richard Smallwood, his music was different from everybody else who I was listening to. Of course, the Mighty Clouds of Joy, I was very much into them. Andre Crouch, very much into him. The Clark sisters, deeply into them, because that was my church, Kojic. And they'd come here, and, you know, we would just experience a whole flood of things in the way that the music was changing as far as young people, because my generation, we were the first generation to actually be involved in proper music making in Britain. Hearing his work, I was kind of like, oh, this is a bit different. Oh, is this really still gospel? I guess it is, yeah. But it wasn't like anybody else's sound. It was very different. And you know, I was listening all weekend as following his death. I listened for the whole Saturday to his music and realized that this was a guy who was really incredible. But I remember at the time thinking, he's all right, but he's so different. And I thought kind of just skipped him over, really. I liked it. I thought it was great, but I thought that he's very different. It wasn't hardcore, as I call it. I would call it, you know, it wasn't Kojic, you know, it wasn't that clap and stompy thing. It was very different. And so, yeah, it took me a couple of years, but I was very much into him after that. That's my earliest memories of hearing his music. Feeling it was wonderful, but knowing it was very different.
Did you ever see him when he came to the UK?
You know what? I didn't. There's quite a few artists that I thought I would have seen, but I never. I don't even know why I didn't see him. I don't even know why I missed those opportunities. And it's been interesting for me to hear people say to me, oh, I remember when. I mean, at church, my pastor is Douglas Wallace, who's the brother of Simon Wallace of the Angelic Voice Choir. And Dougie was telling me on Sunday past that, oh, I remember when he came over and he did a concert with us. I said, well, who? He said, with the Angelic Voice. I thought, I didn't even know. I couldn't remember that he did a concert performance with someone that I knew so well. But yeah, I didn't get to go to his concert, but I certainly didn't miss out on his music. Nearly did, because I was like the Winans. I thought the Winans were a bit off. You know, I didn't really like them at first, but after a while of listening and hearing and understanding what they were saying through the music, it was very different. Yeah.
What was it? And what was captivating for you with the music of Richard Smallwood?
What happened is, as I educated myself in understanding the breadth and the depth of gospel music, and particularly since at school I was actually involved in classical music. I wanted to be a conductor, orchestra conductor. So I really, really loved classical music, and used to come home and have to work on my reading scores and things like that. But before I could get into it, my family was like, "Turn it off! What's that stupidness you're listening to? Giving me a headache." So I couldn't follow my classical dreams. But what drew me to him was that orchestration. And I began to realize more and more that, and thinking about it now, realizing how effective he was with the voice. What really made it special for me was that he made classical music meaningful in gospel. And I can't say, I mean, obviously he studied seriously, gaining his master's at was it Howard University, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he was obviously an in-depth person, and it's very powerful that he began to hear what many of us didn't hear about the black voice, because the main thing that I thought, loving classical music, hearing opera, and all these other wonderful things with the classic sound or the European sound, I thought that it didn't fit the black voice. But actually, over the years, I began to realize it does. And it was easier for us as black people to sing the European way of singing and sounding wonderful. And it was not necessarily a reverse experience that that the European Caucasians could sing our music, but we had such a breadth and a depth, a range in our style of voice that we could sing the operatic sound. In fact, the Fisk Jubilee Singers, they began with the singing the spirituals in a more of a Eurocentric way to make it palatable, weren't they, to the European ear? But when whoever they were in authority heard them singing round the campfires the way that they actually naturally sang gospel, then they wanted them to sing it as how they naturally would sing. And I grew up thinking that, black people can't sing like white people. But hearing Richard Smallwood and his arrangements, his voice, hearing Leonte Price, her name is, and other black operatic people, I realized, hold on a minute, I've got it wrong here. Our voices are much more versatile than we're able to understand, and also that our intellect towards the music was really amazing. Our creative capacity was really amazing. And so I thoroughly appreciated Richard Smallwood. The significant thing about him is that his ear for listening and finding that niche for the black voice in the classical sound was what made him so special. He didn't just find it and create in it, he found it. He stayed. And so, when we get to the point that we're hearing songs like Jesus, You're the Center of My Joy, or Total Praise, which is this kind of like the crowning glory of his writings, you really begin to understand that this was a guy who was uniquely talented, uniquely creative, and uniquely anointed to be able to maintain such a catalogue of works that actually speaks to one and all, to the black and to the white voice, or wherever you come from. He gave us something that was very special.
And actually, what it seems he's done as well, he's been brought out a sound, but actually transcends right cross-cultural. And you'll see his songs being sung and shared from, people in China, in India, in America, in Europe, in the UK, which is just so beautiful to see.
Yeah, that's why I say his ability to understand the human voice, and particularly female voices. I think he was uniquely blessed with understanding the female voice. If you listen to a lot of his works, he really does enable the female voice to soar and to be, something beyond. Like I think that what the Americans seem to be blessed with is really good high sopranos. And they really use high sopranos very, very well. And Richard Smallwood was uniquely blessed in using the soprano voice. Although he had a fine, high range voice himself. And it's one of the things that I love about him, that he would do all these high notes. I was asking Isaiah Raymond about it, because Isaiah does this, every now and again you'll hear him these really high notes. You don't know how he's able to do it, but I heard it first, I think, in Bruce Parham, and who I actually ended up meeting, was one of my real favourites. I heard it with Richard Smallwood, because I always used to think, oh, which one of the female singers have done that? And I thought, there's none of them. And then when I watched the videos, I realised it's Richard is going up there. And then also, I'm told that John P. Key would often do these high notes.
Yeah,
I don't know a song with him going high in it. I'm really looking forward to Isaiah said he's going to send me one. And then also Rance Allen, which I can remember. Yes, he does a lot of the high voice tones for the male. All very good and all very wonderful. Yeah.
Definitely. So, which song from his repertoire would you probably say is your favorite, even if it's not the most popular? Why?
Oh, it's difficult, because, as I said, on Saturday, I listened all day, literally, to all of his music. I just played from album to album. I was listening through on my Spotify and on Apple Music, listening on to his, and realizing how much and how rich his repertoire is. Holy, holy, I love you, Lord. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. And of course, Total Praise goes without saying. Angels is another one that I really like.
Yeah.
It's a bit difficult to pick, but I think that one that I've heard recently, and I remember emotionally why this song was meaningful to me, was the one, Don't Let Go. Hold on, don't let go. Even though your heart hurts you so, he'll never let go of your hand. Such a really, and it was important to me, because I was going through a lot of emotional things, and very often, both mentally and emotionally, the enemy always would challenge me, and I would be challenged to myself, thinking that I'm not good enough, and all sorts of things. But this song, hold on, don't let go, even though your heart hurts you so, he'll never let go of your hand. And it's even more meaningful to me at this time of my life. Not that I would backslide anywhere, because where am I going? I'm not going anywhere. But it was just like to let go of the dreams that I still have, to let go of the desires that I still have in service of the Lord, in being part of this music that God has enabled me. Next year's my 70th birthday, and I'm really wanting to celebrate what God has done in my life, not to show myself up, but to leave a testimony, to say my testimony to all the people that have been very supportive of me through the years. I want to be able to do something that really speaks and says, Lord, you've never let me go, and thank you that I'm never going to let you go. And so I'm hoping that next year will be, this year will be a special year for me to enjoy sharing and talking about the music that has meant so much to me in my life and so much to millions of others.
Brilliant. Juliet, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. So much great memories that you've shared with us. So thank you so much for your time.
You're most welcome. Thank you for all that you do too.
Affinity Xtra, be extra.